couple things to set the table for us as we move through this service. Barry Lopez, in his book Crow and Weasel, in the introduction says, when a story comes to you, take care of it. And at the right time, give it away. Sometimes a person, you can't hear? Oh. I'm used to those ones where they do it. Paul gave me strict orders on that too. Okay, how are we doing now? Thank you. Start over. It could be a different set of lines, but we'll get you there. We're starting today just to open up the table, to open up the story for Linda. Barry Lopez says in his book, Crow and Weasel, in the introduction, when a story comes to you, take care of it. At the right time, give it away. Because sometimes a person needs a story more than food to stay alive. Linda's life was a message. She didn't do anything halfway, and anyone who worked with her or knew her, she always hit it at about 150%. She has much to teach us in her story as we listen today. And I'm going to start us out with a story. We had moved up to the Twin Cities after we retired, and Linda was in Baxter, so she decided to come for a visit for a few days on her way to Des Moines. And during that time, I said, I have made the best cookies, almond-flavored shortbread. I've perfected it. You're going to love these. She loved them. We had 2 cookies for every meal that we shared together, and then the in-between times. So when we got to the time when she was going to leave, we were down to 4 cookies. And I thought, I'm just going to put these in a little Ziploc bag, and I'll give them to Linda when she leaves this morning. And so she's getting ready, and she comes up to the door and ready to go, and I go to get the cookies, and they're gone. And I thought, Dave, did you take those cookies? You know, I can't believe, where did they go? I'm looking through the drawer, I'm looking up in the cabinet, and then I'm like, oh, I'm not even going to tell her I had 4 cookies left over because I don't want her to be disappointed. So I went over to say goodbye to her, and I looked down at her open bag, and there were the 4 cookies. Well, that has to do with what we're going to do with our theme today, and that is to weave a theme through her story. I'm going to quote her. She said, when people come to hear me preach, I believe my job is to give them something they can take home with them. So, no, it's okay. Let Drew, you make yourself at home, Drew. Yep. So, her job, she said, when you preach, or anybody's job, is to send them home with something. And we could put on the end of that, and some cookies, too. There are 3 healing questions in life. You'll see them in the bulletin. I like to share them because they're flexible questions, and they mean something different at different seasons in our lives. But who am I? Where do I come from? And why am I here? Linda fully answered those questions as she lived her life with energy and openness and love.
On behalf of the Tossey and Smogard family and the people of St. Croix United Church, and alongside Linda's dear friend, Naomi Kirstein, I welcome you to this service of celebration and remembrance of the life of Reverend Linda Sue Tossey. I am Pastor Claire Grimaud, and I am grateful and proud to have known Linda as both colleague and friend. If you are new to this space, you will find restrooms through that threshold up on our main level or through the back space at the foot of our elevator and stairway downstairs. Linda's family invites everyone to join them for food and conversation at the dock in Stillwater after this service. May the grace of our friend and teacher, Jesus Christ, the love that is God, and the companionship of the Holy Spirit, Creator, Revealer, Sustainer, be with you all. Surrounded by God's healing love today, we are free to express our love and our grief for Linda as we celebrate her life and acknowledge our loss. We remember the precious nature of our own existence on earth. And we remember that in life, in death, and beyond, we belong to the body of God, each of us uniquely bearing the image of divine love. I invite you to join your hearts with mine in an opening prayer. You may wish to close your eyes. Let's begin by feeling our backs against our seats, our feet grounded below us, our hands at rest, and a deep breath in and an outward sigh. Loving God, thank you for gathering us together today to honor and celebrate the life of your beloved child, servant leader, and prophet, Linda, and to grieve our loss of her physical presence among us as mother, sister, grandmother, cousin, pastor, and friend. As we let our hearts shake and our tears flow, may we be comforted by the way your love makes Linda's presence endure. Heighten our awareness of how each of us bears witness through our speech, actions, attitudes, and priorities to how Linda has impacted us through our relationships with her. Teach us how to pay attention to her presence. Even as we commend her soul fully into your care, into light and love and peace beyond our imagining, we are heartbroken. As you join us in our sorrow, help us to know that your love is always within and among us. Help us feel Linda's strong presence in this hour and in the time to come. Assign her to all of us as your fiercely loving angel, the messenger of your love that she always has been and always will be. In the name of Jesus, the Christ, our teacher and our friend, we pray. And let the people say together, Amen. Let's move together now into a time of wondering, who am I? We begin with Psalm 139, a favorite sacred text that has inspired Linda along her journey. A reading from the Common English Bible translation, Psalm 139, verses 7 through 18. Where could I go to get away from your spirit? Where could I go to escape your presence? If I went up to heaven, you would be there. If I went down to the grave, you would be there too. If I could fly on the wings of dawn, stopping to rest only on the far side of the ocean, even there your hand would guide me. Even there your strong hand would hold me tight. If I said, the darkness will definitely hide me, the light will become night around me. Even then, the darkness isn't too dark for you. Nighttime would shine, bright as day, because darkness is the same as light to you. You are the one who created my innermost parts. You knit me together while I was still in my mother's womb. I give thanks to you that I was marvelously set apart. Your works are wonderful. I know that very well. My bones weren't hidden from you when I was being put together in a secret place. when I was being woven together in the deep parts of the earth. Your eyes saw my embryo, and on your scroll every day was written that was being formed for me before any one of them had yet happened. God, your plans are incomprehensible to me. Their total number is countless. If I tried to count them, they outnumber grains of sand. If I came to the very end, I'd still be with you. At this time, we welcome forward Linda's grandchildren, Lillian and Sophia. And Linda's daughter-in-law, Lorraine, will be alongside them.
She was my person, the person who always understood me even when I didn't. She always knew what I needed without me speaking a word. There was always this unspoken connection between us. We just got each other in ways no one else could. She held me together when I was broken and laughed and played with me when I had more energy than I knew how to deal with. I was that little kid who never stopped asking questions, and she answered every single one fully. She didn't treat me like a kid who didn't understand because she knew I did. We are bonded so tightly, nothing can break that. Even while we are in different realms, we are connected. That's why she is my person.
Grandma, I love you with my whole heart. I loved playing Monopoly with you and winning, of course. I loved having sleepovers at your house. I loved when you would read me picture books before bed. I loved baking with you too. I will love and miss you forever. Love, Opie.
I will take home with me so very much from the woman who married us, who baptized me in this church, and who dedicated my children to God, and who walked beside us in this life every step of the way. I posted the day after her passing what she had taught me, and this is what I wrote. What I learned from Linda is a long list of important things. Love is showing up for others. Love is seeing how you can help someone without seeing reasons to judge them. Love is making people know they matter to you by honoring all of their special moments. Love is just listening. Love is not trying to change someone, but just sitting with them. Love is baking cakes from scratch, because that's how you get the love inside you. Love is making an impact with your words and choosing your words with kindness. Love is knowing when to give time and space. Love is steady and allows you room to make your own choices. Linda taught me all of this and more. We are so deeply heartbroken to have lost her. And we know how relentlessly she fought to stay with us. We know her unbelievable love will come through to us even now.
Either sitting or standing, we'll join together in the hymn that is printed in our bulletin.
I was there to hear your morning cry. I'll be there when you are old. I rejoice the day you were baptized to see your life unfold. Did you find someone to share your time, and you join your hearts as one? I'll be there to make your verses rhyme from dusk till rising sun. In the Middle Ages of your life, not too old, no longer young, I'll be there to guide you through the night, complete what I've begun. When the evening gently closes in, and you shut your weary eyes, I'll be there as I have always been, with just one more surprise. I was there to hear your morning cry. I'll be there when you are old. I rejoice the day you were baptized, to see your life unfold.
Please be seated.
Can you hear me? In the back? No? How about now? All right. My name is Ron Tossey. I'm Linda Tossey's brother. And I'd like to introduce you to the Tossey family as it existed as a family of 5 in Flint, Michigan. There was the father, Lionel, the mother, Margie, and 3 of us children. Linda was the youngest. And I'll tell you a little bit about my father. He was born in 1907 to a teenage mother who, after his infancy, sent him to live with his uncle. His uncle gave him a 7th grade education and then put him to work in menial jobs until one day the uncle decided that they should put together a comedy act. And they did. And they took that act to vaudeville. Now, vaudeville was not a place you would go. Vaudeville was a network, a circuit of theaters, many of them in small or mid-sized towns. But it was the day of live entertainment. And so they joined a troupe of about 12 to 15 other people, some jugglers, some dancers, and so on, but they were the comedy acts. By the middle of the 1930s, however, radio had replaced vaudeville as the primary entertainment for people. Up until that point, it had been live entertainment, but radio came in, so people now began to stay at home and listen to the radio. And as a result, my father and Uncle Billy came back. So when they did, my father, Lionel, began work in retail business and eventually met and married my mother, who was born in 1916. She came from a family of 7 children, and they were, frankly, semi-itinerant. They would move between Minnesota and Iowa and find work where they could. Sometimes packing up the truck in the middle of the night before the rent was due and moving on. But that experience scarred my mother. It was not who she was, it's not who she wanted to be. And as we were to learn later, it certainly wasn't how her children were going to live their lives. So the two of them, along with their newborn daughter, Carol, moved from Grand Rapids to Flint, Michigan. And Flint in those days was, I'll say this, it was the birthplace of General Motors, not Detroit. Flint was. And Flint was a boom town in the 1940s and the 1950s. And so it offered opportunity for a young family to make their way in the world. So they moved to Flint, and eventually I was born in 1945, and then Linda in 1948. My dad, meanwhile, worked 12-hour days, 6 days a week. So he was not really in residence in the household, so it was my mother that was the primary mover of what happened and the primary caregiver. And she had her mission of making sure that her children were raised in a manner where they would have a good running start at the world. So we all had music lessons. My older sister played the piano. I played the drums. Linda played the viola. And the reason she played the viola is that my mother's middle name was Viola. But it shows the influence that my mother had on her children, and particularly Linda, because Linda was the youngest child and the most at home in the years where the family was doing better and better. My dad eventually becoming general manager. This is a man with a 7th grade education who became general manager of a chain of furniture and appliance stores. And also later opened his own business. My mother, meanwhile, was a stay-at-home mom for a while until the kids got old enough. And then she was determined that she too would make her mark. So she went to nursing school, became a nurse. We now were a 2-income family, and the family was able to provide a college education for the children, the music lessons, and there was this continuous drumbeat of you need to take this and you need to go out into the world and you need to do something with it and you need to do better. My dad contributed a sense of humor that imbued all of the children, and also a love of the theater. And that showed up in my sisters. Both sisters gave it a shot in the theater, not seriously, but did some theater work, and they were good at it. I, meanwhile, played the drums. So what eventually happens, of course, is the kids grow up. Linda finished Michigan State University and then went out to make her way in the world. And by that time, of course, the mold was cast. Linda had those influences. It was a part of Linda. It would always be a part of Linda. But what happened after that was pretty much all Linda. It was the successes, many of them, some failures along the way, but it was Linda that did that. It was not the family. The family, however, and I think it's fair to say, your family, that birth family, the family into which you're born is the cloth from which you are cut. And so, as Linda went forward into the world and made her way in the world, it partly was taking the family with her. I think the sense of humor was a very important part of our upbringing and our lives, and certainly was carried with us for our whole lives. Linda and I had pretty similar senses of humor, but my older sister, now, that was a little different. When we were younger, she renamed Linda the Stinky Bear. And you were told that if the Stinky Bear approached you, you were to run for your life. Also, when we moved to Ogama Street, because the family could now afford it, my older sister and Linda shared a bedroom, and on occasion, when the wind was right and the moon was right, Carol, in that bedroom, would snap into a trance. And she would bring Linda, one by one, all of her belongings, and say, I want you to have this. Linda would protest, saying, I don't want that, don't give that to me. But Carol would continue to bring one after another piece of her belongings to Linda and say, this is for you, you're my sister, I love you, I want you to have this. So Linda would end up with a pile of Carol's things, and then Carol would snap out of the trance and demand to know why Linda had taken all of her stuff. So that's who we were as a family. That was what created the Linda Tossey that we all knew. But as I said, she did most of it on her own as she moved through life, and particularly after a few decades and being older and wiser, she found her way to her life's calling, which was the ministry. And she, I think, met many of you through that ministry, and was able to help countless numbers of people. And I think in the end, it's fair to ask the question, and we all should ask that question, what did I do in the time that I had? And Linda answered that question. She lived, she loved, she laughed, she helped a lot of other people. And it mattered. So the one thing that I would like to add to this is what has struck me as an observer when I have seen Linda through the years is the number and quality of friends that she has. And that is a testament to her. And it's also a testament to you that are here today that brave this kind of weather at this time of year to be here to help us memorialize Linda. I am proud to be your brother, and on behalf of the Tossey family, past and present, thank you for coming. Can you hear me?
Thank all of you for coming. We really do appreciate it, like he was saying with the weather and everything. It's hard to even know where to start or how to summarize this after 40 years of someone supporting me the way she has. How do I even do that? How do I put that into words? For those of you who knew her, you already know how impactful she was and how meaningful she was. And yeah, most days I can't really believe she's not here. So I've been trying to process this over the last few weeks, and as I think back through time, there's been countless events, stories, and just an unwavering supportive presence by her in our lives. A constant and crucial part of our lives that will be missed. And as we all know, there were common threads in all situations with her. She always had genuine care for others. She was always looking for a way to help, and she obviously had an amazing sense of humor, as Ron mentioned. Throughout my school, she was so involved, maybe too involved. Making sure I was doing well, that I was happy, that I was using grammar properly. And most of all, making sure that my teachers were doing their jobs correctly. There was always support and understanding for me while somehow combining that with high expectations and goals for the future. While truly caring and listening to me, no matter what the situation, including all of my teenager shenanigans, as my grandma Margie would say. As I grew up, I got to know her more, as a friend and as a grandparent. When Rain and I started our family, she was so supportive and so immensely filled with love for her grandkids. She was always there at every holiday, birthday, and special event for Lily, Sophie, and Drew, who keeps coming up and down. She would put so much effort and thought and detail into everything, constantly giving the perfect gift or making the perfect cake. She moved back to Minnesota to be near us, even moving up to Brainerd during COVID to be near our cabin. Buying and selling houses to do it. She didn't even question it, she just moved. Again, being there with unconditional love and support. I'm grateful for the time that we had, but selfishly I wanted more. There will always be something missing without her around. Her presence just can't be replicated. In 2022, when she was originally diagnosed, we were all in shock. She began a brutal journey of radiation, chemo, and immunotherapy, which was so bad, some of it needed to be stopped. Luckily, for a period of time, the cancer was held back. It was dramatically reduced and out of sight. In the back of our minds, we knew it was probably still there, but it did offer a chance for hope. Unfortunately, it did return. And when a lot of people would have given up, that was never an option for her. She was going to do everything possible to stick around for her family, friends, and grandkids. And for those of you that were there, that continued till the last moment. When the cancer came back, Rain and I decided right then we were going to take her to Paris. It was always her main bucket list item, so we scheduled it and put things in motion. There was a lot of stories from that trip, like her having creme brulee at lunch every day, sneaking a few sips of wine or champagne in the Eiffel Tower, even though the doctor told her not to. She so enjoyed the paintings, sculptures, and buildings, spending hours in museums, even though it must have been so exhausting. Seeing the Mona Lisa, Notre Dame, and so on. She was ready to go every single morning, up before us each day. We called her the Energizer Bunny. I'm so thankful that we were able to have that time together. As the cancer progressed, no matter how bad she was feeling, she was always asking about us. Even in the last few days and weeks, every time I saw her, she was asking how we were doing. So, this has been a very long journey, even though we knew this day would come. It doesn't seem to make it any easier. So I did want to say thank you. Thank you to Naomi, Jan, Bev, Cynthia, Charlotte, and the countless other people that have stepped in big and small ways. Most of all, thank you, Sally. Sally lived with my mom for the last year. She was there with her day and night. So thank you for that. Thank you for being so positive with her and with us. I don't think we could have done it without you. We did have a chance to take Sally and my mom on a couple other trips this year. There were some really fun days, sometimes just laughing our faces off over nothing. The joke that developed was that I have two moms. Well, that's how I think of you, so you're stuck with me now. But really, thank you. Thank all of you for coming. There's just an uncountable number of things that my mom has impacted us with, some of which our life is meant to be lived. It is meant to be lived by caring about others, enjoying those quiet or hectic moments, making use of each day, finding humor in things, even if they seem terrible, not giving up, no matter how hard it is. However, the most important thing she taught me is unconditional love. And that's what I'll take with me today. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I want to thank the residents of Minnesota for arranging the perfect weather scenario for someone who moved out of Minnesota to avoid this weather. As we parked the car outside of the church, it was sleeting with the expectation of snow to follow, so thank you, that's perfect. My name is Jan Asnakar, and I have been a good friend of Linda's for almost 40 years. Linda's reach and her influence on people, people have talked about it already, but I can give you an example right here in this room. 36 years ago, she hired a receptionist to work in our office, and that woman sits right over there. She came to the service because of the influence that Linda had on her all those years ago, and she's here with her husbands, Kathy and Corey Clevin. So thank you for coming. I was told I don't have very much time, so there are several things that I can't tell you about, which is probably good. I can't tell you why we were riding down Ward Parkway in a convertible with the top down and our sunglasses on in the dark. Stories off the table. I can't tell you about why in the Dominican Republic, when we wanted a bath mat and called the front desk for it, they sent up 3 big hulky men. Still not sure what she asked for on the phone. I don't have enough time to tell you about the time she was in the birthing room when I gave birth to twins. One of those twins sits here today. And at the end of that event, she was whiter than the sheet. I think she was whiter than I was. And I can't really explain why during our wedding, when she was our officiant, Ron and I, why she kept referring to us as Ron and John. For the entire service. Until I finally said, "Who is John?" And finally, more recently, I can't really explain why we confused the car alarm with the alarm on her chemo bag. But I will tell you it was her chemo bag, not tires. So we made a quick trip to the hospital. What makes Linda a best friend to so many people? And I think as I really gave this some thought, she had the gift of reflecting the truth of your beauty and wonder back to you. In other words, she acted as a mirror for us. She helped us remember our own belovedness. This is what Linda does for her friends in different ways and for different people. She was able to see others' absurdities with awe and wonder. Not many people do this. Not many people can do this. She made me believe that when God thought me up, it was a good day. And so I've had to ask myself, for whom can I be a mirror? That's a good question. When Linda was first diagnosed with cancer, I went to stay with her for about 3 weeks in Baxter. We went to chemo sessions, to radiation sessions, to lab sessions, something nearly every day. In her home, I found a framed plaque, a quote from Thomas Hood that said, "Farewell, I did not know thy worth, but thou art gone, and now 'tis prized, so angels walked unknown on earth, but when they flew, were recognized." I thought, that really hit me. But as I had more time to reflect on it, I thought, that's not right. That really didn't describe Linda, because people do recognize what she brings. They recognize it in the here and now. They see it. As Linda began what turned out to be her last week on this earth, we had several opportunities to talk. One night, we held hands and talked about how much we meant to each other. This meant so much to me. I shared that I would miss her so much, but because of the love that we have for one another, I knew I would never be without her. I shared that I was a different person because of the relationship we had built, and my life was so much better because she loved me as I am, flawed and sometimes broken, but always valued and always loved. And we agreed that evening that we would see each other again. This is a pot that I gave to Linda for her birthday a couple of years ago. And at the bottom it says Grandma Linda's Garden of Love. And above it, it says Aaron and Rain and Lily and Sophie and Drew. But here's the reality. While she cultivated a garden of love, there isn't a pot big enough in this world to put all the stems of all the people that are in that garden. There are so many people reflected in this group today. She loves her family so much. She is absolutely over the moon about her grandchildren, Lily, Sophie, and Drew. They are her most precious legacy. And she loves her friends, her family, her extended family, her congregants, the receptionist at the oncology office, the woman sitting across from her in the infusion room, the person who could not get her order right at Culver's. These people are all part of her garden of love. She believed that within each of us, there is a shrine of divine holiness, and she could see that shrine. What she would say to all of us today, I think, well, she'd say a lot, but one of the things that she would say is, you were made by love, for love, to love. Naomi asked us to share one thing I will take with me from Linda, and I thought this quote from Emily Dickinson captured it best. This is what I remember from Linda. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin unto his nest again, I shall not live in vain. That's my Linda.
Hi, I'm Bev Evans, and if I were a wise woman, I would say ditto and sit down. So she's absolutely said, and so has Aaron absolutely told us, and Rain and Ron. What a fabulous person, not to mention Lily and Sophie. Such dignity to stand before us and talk about your beautiful, wonderful grandmother. I am from Des Moines, and Linda and I became friends in 1996 when we both moved to Des Moines. And somehow, very quickly, we became really good friends. And I've thought, and then Naomi talked about, wanted us all to take something away. It's really clear that we all have something already of Linda that we're going to take away. But I thought of that, and I decided I'm just going to come up with a few things that are gifts that I've received from Linda. And the first one I thought was, oh my goodness, that woman was so funny. And we lived in Des Moines together, not together, but both in Des Moines for 10 years. And what fun we had. It could be a sober occasion, or a celebration, or a cup of coffee, or a time to get to bed together and complain about something. But we always laughed. She was, silly things, clever things, witty things, things that no one else would think funny. So one of the things that I take as a gift from Linda is her sense of humor, her zest for living, which was a demonstration of her long and difficult fight to stay with us, for all of us, but especially for Aaron and his family. Boy, she wanted to be there. And she was really, really there during the years that she had for all of you. That takes me to another thing that I've received from a gift from Linda, and that is love. She had this way of loving that was, I was thinking of it as a ferocious love, but it was really a solid, unbreakable sort of love, and that's what she had for Aaron, and it enveloped Rain, and it enveloped Sophie and Lily and Drew, and I was a mere friend, but I felt it. I felt that love, and what a gift that was. Another gift that I received from Linda was, I call it her poetic nature. To the best of my knowledge, she was not a poet, but she loved language. Now, she and I, during the time we had together in Des Moines, belonged to 2 book clubs. One was the book babes. That was the two old babes. That would be Linda and Bev. And the two young babes, one representative is here today. That's my bonus daughter, Anne. And then there was just the ordinary older book club after Linda moved away. And one of the representatives of that club is here today, too, and that's Judy. Linda would read to us. We'd get to a passage in a book, or she would find a passage of a book we had read, and she would read it out loud. And she would say, isn't that beautiful? Don't you just love the way that language flows? And the day after she died, that morning, I was sitting in her office, and I found this. And that was something that was that we gave to her when she moved to seminary. And this is a quote from Willa Cather, who is one of or maybe my favorite author, and one of Linda's favorites as well. The book was Death Comes to the Archbishop. And this passage is the moment that death comes to the Archbishop. Something soft and wild and free. Something that whispered to the ear on the pillow, lightened the heart, softly, softly picked the lock, slid the bolts, and released the prisoned spirit into the wind, into the blue and gold, into the morning, into the morning. I read that, and I can feel Linda's spirit wild and free. I thought that was so perfect. Another thing that was a gift she gave to me was her spirituality. She knew that God had called her to the ministry. Now, she told me she ignored it for a while. But she did eventually say, well, okay. And she left Des Moines in early 2006. She quit her job. She sold her house. She moved to the Twin Cities to go to seminary. And her interest in spirituality, her love of God, really inspired me. We would have conversations. She never imposed her views on anyone. But you always knew that she represented love. God's love of people for one another. A few days before she died, it was in the evening, and she said, Bev, do you think there's a heaven? And I answered her truthfully, and I said, Linda, I don't know, but I think there may be. And if there is, I know that you and Margie, your fabulous mother, are going to be together again, and you're going to have a wonderful time. Margie was a fabulous individual. I loved her. Another thing the final thing, I could go, but all of you have a basket of gifts. But one other thing I thought in my basket of gifts from Linda was trust. She trusted her family, she trusted all of the friends, including Sally and Jan, and so many of the people here who have helped her, and Naomi, my goodness. All of you gave her so much. She trusted you to care for her, to support her in her hour of need. And what a gift that was. But I thought about it. I thought, first of all, this is such a responsibility. And I thought, no, it's a gift. It's a chance to love someone that you do love. So for that, I am really grateful. And I have to tell you that I am the recipient of a very, very special gift. And that's Mr. Anderson. Her little dog that I love and adore. And when I came to see her sometime not too long after Anderson had arrived at her house, I don't remember, was that early 2023? I'm not quite sure when it was. But anyway, I just got there, been there a few, and she looked at me and she said, Bev, when I'm gone, will you take Anderson? And I said, of course I will. And what a gift of trust and of love that was from Linda. So I have a basket of gifts to take with me. And all of you who knew Linda, you must have a pretty full basket of gifts from Linda too. Bless you all.
When Linda talked to me about some things she'd like in the service, she pointed her finger at me and she said, if it gets long, you better still give them a message. I'm sitting back here going, I think we've had it, but I can feel her on my shoulder saying, follow through. So when Linda asked me to do her service, I do not think I realized how much work it was going to be. So many stories, so many years. How do you choose what to say? After all, there's a lot of material about Linda, and as a colleague and friend for 28 years, I can tell you with great confidence that we have not heard the half of it. There are file drawers of sermons and teachings, all organized, filled with hours of research, exegesis, writing and rewriting, words framed with intention. Linda was a productive person in whatever she did, whether having a conversation, deliberating over politics, or just plain wrestling with God. She gave herself fully to her call to be a minister to the people. Linda was committed to nurturing God's presence in community, living love, preaching justice for all people. She would work her sermons like yeast bread that rises up and provides substance for life. Her desire for every sermon that she preached was to give people something to take home with them, chew on, break open, embrace regarding their faith in God, their understanding of the teachings of Jesus. Linda's faith was not one of perfection, but hope. In all her sorrows of life, she never gave up. She never lost her joy, her humor, her compassion. To stand in alliance with those who experience the stresses of poverty, racism, and sexism, that was non-negotiable for her, no matter where she was. And so, yes, it was a task to pick out one thing that could be shared that would light a fire of passion under us as she used to do when we would hear her preach or experience her in conversation. We will miss the way she would lean into us and look, trying to see something down in here, and then she'd ask her questions that prodded us to go deeper with our curiosity for God. One afternoon a few months ago, I asked her about where I might find her sermon that told the story of her conversion. It was a story that was so holy to her that she rarely told it. She never misused it, and as far as I know, she shared it publicly 3 times. She directed me with precision to the file I was to look for. It would be labeled, "You got the wrong car, God." When I opened the file, the cover of the bulletin was on the top. I knew she had designed it. It had the Linda touch on it. There was a beautiful picture of mist over a small lake early in the morning light. At the bottom of the picture was an ancient Celtic saying, "Heaven and earth are only 3 feet apart, but in thin places, that distance is even shorter." After reading the file, I knew I had the piece to share for today. From what she said, it is a piece of her story that I feel is priceless because it's an actual accounting of a 20th century woman, Linda Tossey, who was told by the Spirit of God, "You need to minister to the people." It read like a Bible story, and I think I can say with certainty that the Apostle Paul's conversion had nothing over Linda's. This moment did not happen on a mountaintop or a retreat or her being in a good place and in control. She was not attending church, but she was praying. It happened when she was just hanging on to life in the midst of grief over the loss of her sister, and then 3 months later, the loss of her nephew. The story began in 1996, and 22 years later, she told it one more time for her 10th ordination celebration. That was on June 10th in this church, 2018. The words, as you listen, are rather general, but placed in the context of her experience, they are weighty and deep. Yes, it's not just about words as she tells the story. She paints a picture that includes how her body felt in this thin space. And it appears that heaven and earth were less than 3 feet apart because the whole backdrop to the story is in the front seat of her car. This metaphor she uses gets us involved because it connects us to the mystery we long to know more about. If there is a heaven, how far away might it be? How do you get there? She invites us into her conversion experience, and we understand that she did not control it. She is vulnerable in telling and very humble. This visitation from the Spirit was a solid. And here's how she spoke about a portion of her experience. Now here's the hard part. These are her words. The part I often don't share with anyone, but I'm sharing it with you today because people would think I'd have to have my medication adjusted if I shared it very often. Driving to work on Fleur Drive in Des Moines on a hot, humid August morning in 1996, I was praying for a friend who was struggling in life. Then out of nowhere, a chill swept through my body, head to toe, except this chill didn't let up. It stayed steady, flooding my entire body. I felt almost like something or someone had taken me by the shoulders. I gasped in surprise, or maybe fear, and tears flowed down my face. I wasn't crying, but tears were streaming down my cheeks. And then I had the clearest thought I had ever had in my life. No clutter in my brain, no chatter. For that one moment, it was as if there was nothing in the entire world except for that one thought, one clear, crystalline thought that said, Linda, you need to go into ministry. I was stunned, shaken, astounded. However, with me being me and not being anything else close to holy, and who had a past littered with bad choices and mistakes, I did not say, like Isaiah when God called him, "Here I am, Lord, send me." No, I said, "You've got the wrong car." The woman in the tan Buick next to me, she looks nice. Even at that time, I didn't believe in this stuff, but something happened. I knew with every fiber of my being that something extraordinary had happened. I knew that God, or whatever God might be, spoke into my life, my spirit, my body, and there was nothing that could deny it. No one could ever convince me that it didn't happen. So this is the part of the story where Linda would say to me, as I'm talking to her, "Where are you going with this, Naomi?" She seemed to have a question for all of us, didn't she? So let me try to explain. It's hard to put a mystery into words, but here's what I've been thinking. Linda's story may prod us into recognizing our own thin places, Moments when a human hears with one clear, crystalline thought, no clutter in the brain. Maybe that is heaven, no clutter in the brain. Total clarity as to what one must do. Now, there are those ministers, preachers who are intent on connecting heaven to narrow roads, narrow gates, rigid doctrines, and creeds. Folks who believe that earth is inferior, heaven is far away, and only for a few, not the multitudes. But not Linda. That is why she loved the idea of thin places where heaven and earth are only 3 feet apart on the daily, and why she used this metaphor throughout her 10 years of ministry. She believed we were part of heaven now and on earth. Thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Where is heaven? Where is hell? They're both right here. The kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. They're close together as we walk this wheel of time. It is so close that I believe I can say with some substance, if you have some heaven in your pocket, give it to somebody who's going through hell. Linda knew and had experienced that if a person could glimpse heaven as being on earth, it could change the trajectory of one's life. Look around. You are all here in this place and online because of Linda. Because you were struggling. When you were struggling, she was there. When you were celebrating, she was there. And through the last 2.5 years when she was struggling, you were there with her. Hope kept and keeps showing up through our stories with Linda. We will take care of these stories, and we will have them to give away at the right time when needed. As we go today, listen again to the words of the psalmist 6,000 years ago. Where can I go from your spirit? Where can I flee from your presence? If I go to heaven, you are there. Heaven not being that far away. If I make my bed in hell, you are there. If I take the wings of the morning and settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall lead me, and your strong hand shall hold me fast. I try to count all your thoughts, and they are more than sand. I come to the end, and you are still with me. Sounds like the psalmist had a thin place moment. God is always with us, never more than 3 feet. In the last weeks, Linda asked me and others of you what we thought happened after we died. It wasn't a catechism question that had one answer. She asked because she was still curious. She was looking for ideas, processing what was coming. After she asked me again towards the end of her life, as we know, I read her conversion story again. And let me just quote these again about Linda, talking about her experience. Even though I didn't believe in this stuff, I knew with every fiber of my being that something extraordinary had happened to me. I knew that God, or whatever God might be, spoke into my life, my spirit, my body, and there was no denying it. No one will ever convince me it didn't happen. To me, her words are as honest and authentic as one can get. Linda, say to her, maybe what happened on that August day in 1996, that is how it is with heaven. Heaven gets a hold of you, and when it happens, it's extraordinary, and no one can take it from you. You're going to be okay, Linda. There's no denying it. God spoke into your life, your spirit, and every fiber of your body, and no one, not even death, will ever convince you that it didn't happen. Heaven got a hold of you, and it won't let you go. I heard a song when I was at Wellspring Community Church, where Linda attended with us for 10 years in Des Moines. It's what Linda was about. The song is called Rise. It was Linda's, and it is her understanding of resurrection. So if you'll come forward and lead, they're going to teach you a piece of the chorus. It's right in your bulletin. You can find it there. You just quickly sing with you a couple times, because Linda wants you to take something home with you. And we're hoping for a piece of a song here too.
So we're going to have our part. We're going to ask you to join us on the chorus as you feel led. And we're going to practice it with you.
In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here.
Okay, great. Let's try this.
We rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided, rise, with Spirit to guide us, rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise, all of the children rise, elders with wisdom rise, ancestors surround us rise, in hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise up from the wreckage, rise, with heart and with courage, rise, fighting for life we rise. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. In hope, in prayer, we find ourselves here. In hope, in prayer, we're right here. And we rise, humbly hearted, rise, won't be divided, rise, with Spirit to guide us, rise.
now it's time for us to find those papers inside your bulletin. Hopefully everybody has one. Just like that. Right. We could not just throw cards away. And Linda received more cards in these last 2.5 years than I could even count. I've never seen anybody receive so many cards. It's literally basketfuls of cards. And so we cut some of them in half and put them in your bulletin so that you can take time, just a minute, to write something that you will take home with you from Linda's life. Maybe a word, maybe sketch a picture, but if anything, just write down, one gift I will take home with me from the message of Linda's life is. And that's written right in your bulletin. Write it on the card, and while you do that, you can take it home with you and write something more. But Sharon will play just a little meditative music for us as we just take a beat, take a moment to listen to what the message of Linda's life has given to you. If the people that are going to sing the next song want to come forward, so we're ready to sing as we close the service. Linda, when we were talking about a few things she might like to do for today, people speaking and so on, she said, do you think that when Wellspring comes, they could sing the Freedom Song? Now, she loved this song. We'd always have to sing it for her when she came to town, or she surprised us. She said, can we sing the Freedom Song today? We had to sing that song. It's about South African liberation and apartheid, but it also is a song for all people to sing, not just about ourselves, the freedom, but the freedom that people will be liberated all around us. She was committed to that, and she loved this song. So those who know how to sing it, just come up and help sing it, and we're going to invite the rest of you to, you'll catch it as we go along. So we do this, no, Joanna and Stephanie, you want to go? Yeah, come on, you guys. Yeah. You can sing it here. Come with the crown. All right. And then sing along. It's easy to catch it. The words aren't hard. Oh, freedom, freedom, oh, freedom, freedom. And then yes, yes, we will, yes, we will, yes, we will. Those are the words. So you just got to catch the tone.
Oh, freedom.
Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Oh, yes, I know. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. Oh, yes, I know. 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 Oh, yes, I know.
yes, I know.
Oh, 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 yes, I
Oh,
know.
freedom.
Freedom is
Oh,
coming.
freedom.
Freedom is coming.
Freedom.
Freedom is coming. Oh, yes, I
Oh,
know.
freedom.
Freedom
Oh,
is coming.
freedom.
Freedom
Oh,
is coming.
freedom.
Freedom is coming. Oh, yes, I know.
For the benediction today, I use a short but very deep story using the words of Drew, her grandson, whom she loved so much. I came in the house and she said, I got to tell you what happened. I said, okay. When she did that, I sat a little closer. What's going on? She said, when we were having dinner last night, this happened. Here's how she told the story. Without any prompting, Drew got very still and quiet. He looked into my eyes and he said, Grandma, you will get lighter and lighter and lighter, and then you will float away. Linda took a deep breath and continued. These words that he said and the way he said them gives me peace. May these words give each of you peace today as you leave. Amen.